Hey everybody, welcome to Player Profiler Today. I am your Friday host, Brendon Booth. This is my debut show. I am a senior analyst at the Player Profiler news desk, and I will be here with you every Friday at 4 o'clock Pacific time, 7 o'clock Eastern, giving you a rundown of the day and week in news in the NFL. So please like and subscribe. Go over to playerprofiler.com/news to get our news archive so you can stay up to date as well. And let's get the show started. All right, leading off the news this week saw the passing of an NFL legend, controversial figure in the NFL. His name was Orenthal James Simpson, or O.J. Simpson, setting apart the controversy, the legal troubles that he had, things like that. Let's take a look at the man as a football player. So, O.J. Simpson was born in San Francisco, California. He was a product of public high school and was recruited to go play at USC, where he was a star running back for the USC Trojans. He won a Heisman Trophy, came out as a heavily sought after running back, and was drafted in 1969 to play for the Buffalo Bills. He started off his career pretty inauspiciously. He didn't have 1,000-yard season until his fourth year, when he eclipsed 1,250 yards. He went for 2,003 yards and 12 touchdowns as a fifth-year running back in 1973. He led the NFL many times in attempts, 3 years in a row. In fact, 1973 to 1975. He led the NFL in rushing yards 4 different times between 1972 and 1976. He led in touchdowns in 73 and 75. He put together a Hall of Fame career. He wound up playing for 9 years. Throughout the 70s, he retired right before the 1980 season, and he at one point was traded to the San Francisco 49ers, which not a lot of people know about. Now, OJ did what a lot of NFL players in the 70s did. He went and he transitioned his NFL career and his celebrity status, you could say, into a movie and endorsement career. He was very famous for being the Hertz spokesperson, and there's a commercial where he's running through the airport trying to get to his destination, showing some of the skills that he had as a running back. He also was in the Naked Gun series of movies, had a really big star turn in the Naked Gun series. So he ran into some legal troubles in the 90s. He was accused and ultimately acquitted on the criminal side of murder, and he was convicted on the civil side, and spent the rest of his career amid controversy. There was a memorabilia theft controversy. He played a lot of golf, and a couple days ago he passed away from cancer. And OJ had a long legacy in the NFL. He was definitely a polarizing figure, but at the time that he played, he was really regarded as one of the best running backs that ever played the game. So it speaks a lot to it speaks a lot to humanity, and how we tend to put professional athletes on a pedestal and revere them, and ultimately not all of them can escape the humility of being a human being. That kind of leads us into our next story. Recently, we had Kansas City Chiefs Rashee Rice embroiled in controversy himself. He was involved in a car wreck in Texas and is looking at possibly jail time and suspension. He turned himself into the authorities yesterday. It was reported that he was driving 119 miles per hour, ostensibly racing. The driver of the car that he was racing with was a former teammate at SMU, a student athlete, and most likely a good friend. And Rashee Rice is now facing 8 charges in connection with the crash. The crash resulted in injuries for multiple people. It involved 6 different cars, and an arrest warrant was issued for Rice last Wednesday. The Dallas Police Department issued a news release that there were 6 counts of collision involving bodily injury, 1 count of collision involving serious bodily injury, and 1 count of aggravated assault. The situation gets worse for him. He's coming off a great rookie season in which he finished with 79 receptions for 938 yards and 7 touchdowns in an offense led by Patrick Mahomes. They ultimately went on to win the Super Bowl. And 938 yards for a rookie wide receiver that absolutely qualifies as a breakout. So again, the humility of being a human being and being subject to the kinds of things that lots of people go through, but he's in the spotlight as a professional football player. So make sure that you are tuned in to playerprofiler.com/news. That way you get consistent updates. Follow us on Twitter at PlayerProfiler News, and you'll get all of the latest from the news desk, including TikTok videos, the Player Profiler profile updates, and things like that. So moving on, we have a lot of contract news. Brock Wright, tight end for the Detroit Lions, was offered a contract by the 49ers, and the Detroit Lions had an opportunity to match the offer and keep him in-house. They did that, so Brock Wright will not be going to the 49ers. He's going to be staying in Detroit, so probably good news for Jared Goff. He hasn't had many chances to participate in the passing game. He's primarily been used as a blocking tight end, but the Detroit Lions had a pretty stellar year last season, getting into the playoffs and winning their first playoff game in a long, long time. He is next to Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta is definitely an offensive threat, and Brock Wright, like I said, more of a blocking tight end. Basically, the situation is unlikely to change. Brock Wright isn't going to break out or anything like that. But the Detroit Lions feel like they have a pretty comfortable understanding of what their offense requires. And Brock Wright is enough of a piece of that they matched the 49ers offer and kept him in-house. The Eagles have traded Hassan Reddick to the Jets. Hassan Reddick is an all-pro pass rusher. And basically, the Jets are saying, we're all in. They're coming off of an injury season for quarterback Aaron Rodgers, who tore his Achilles in the first game of the season last year. They have Garrett Wilson, who is definitely one of the top 10 wide receivers in the NFL. And they think that if they put some pieces together, that they could definitely make a run for a championship behind Aaron Rodgers as he returns for the 2024 season. Over the last 4 years, Hassan Reddick has averaged 12.5 sacks across 3 different teams. His addition to the Jets defensive line will generate a serious pass rush versus opposing offenses. The defense should be drafted this upcoming draft season, and Reddick should be rostered in all IDP leagues. More IDP news. We have Josh Allen, not the quarterback from Buffalo, but the linebacker, edge rusher from Jacksonville. He has been offered a 5-year, $150 million deal to stay in Jacksonville. They've agreed. $88 million of that is guaranteed. They announced the contract on Wednesday, but they didn't disclose the financial terms. Allen said that he wants to surpass his sister, Maisha Hines Allen, who won a WNBA title with the Washington Mystics in 2019. So you have a very athletic family there. And Josh Allen has been regarded as, a top linebacker in the NFL for the years that he's played. He's only 26. They franchise tagged him last year, and he had 17.5 sacks. That was tied for second in the NFL last year. He's sixth in pressures, 228, and is tied for 10th in sacks in the NFL over the past 3 seasons. He has 45 sacks, and that's second on the Jacksonville career leader list. Tony Bracken's had 55. We all remember Tony Bracken's, don't we? He was a force and definitely very scary on that Jacksonville Jaguars offensive line. Deontay Hardy, wide receiver from Buffalo, has signed with the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens lost Devin Duvernay, so they needed to address their kickoff returner and some of their wide receiver depth. They brought in Deontay Hardy, who they hope will fill that void. Last year, he had only 15 catches for 150 yards and a touchdown. Odell Beckham is also gone, so there's an opportunity there for Hardy to earn a spot on the roster, contribute on special teams, and possibly try and improve on his 15 catches. We also had news about Tom Brady. So Tom Brady, not staying out of the news, he's trying to finalize a deal to become part of the ownership group of the Las Vegas Raiders. And he was interviewed, and yesterday the interview came out, and he had stated a few different teams that he would like to, or he wouldn't rule out the interest in coming to the team in the second half of the season to maybe help with a playoff run. The San Francisco 49ers, the Las Vegas Raiders, both. Tom Brady being from Northern California, having grown up a San Francisco 49er fan, and also being interested in the ownership group in Las Vegas, those teams make sense for him. There is some skepticism because Tom Brady is he's getting to the point where he's an old man. He retired 2 years ago, and does he still have anything left in the tank? And as most pro athletes do, they always think that they still have something left in the tank, even though all signs point to them not. That doesn't mean that Tom Brady doesn't have anything left in the tank. And if he does, I don't see any reason why a team wouldn't want to have somebody like Tom Terrific leading their charge on a playoff run, or possibly in the playoffs, maybe even another Super Bowl. Could you imagine if Tom Brady came back and won a Super Bowl coming out of retirement? He's 46, so it's highly unlikely, but don't rule it out, was what Tom Brady was trying to tell us yesterday. Izzy Abanikanda, Jets running back. He's moving up the depth chart, primed for a bigger role. There's a lack of competition for touches behind Breece Hall. They brought in Dalvin Cook last year, and that wasn't really a threat to what Breece Hall was trying to do. He was recovering from an injury, and so after the 4 games that it kind of took him to kind of get acclimated and get back into his high-quality running back Pro Bowl level ways, Dalvin Cook was kind of a stopgap measure. Izzy Abanikanda was a rookie who hurt himself at the beginning of the season. All of that was showcased on HBO's Hard Knocks. He's promising on paper. Basically, depth on the Jets continues to be an issue, especially at the skill positions. At wide receiver, basically, we're looking at Garrett Wilson. They brought over Mike Williams, formerly of the Chargers, and Xavier Gibson and Alan Lazard are both coming off very shaky 2023 campaigns. Breece Hall is one of the league's best. Typically in your fantasy leagues, you're going to see him going at 1 or 2. It's basically a toss-up between him and Bijan Robinson. General Manager Joe Douglas addressed pressing needs along the offensive line during free agency with the additions of Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses, and John Simpson, formerly of the Las Vegas Raiders and a Clemson national champion. But behind Breece Hall, the depth chart is riddled with inexperienced and unproven options like Xavier Valladay and Jacques Patrick. So Abanikanda had a pretty good career at the University of Pittsburgh. He was highly touted as a rookie coming out and looked to earn himself a spot during the Jets preseason last year before he hurt himself. Shouldn't change much in fantasy, but Izzy is a good story. He's a feel good story that, like I said, was showcased on Hard Knocks. So if you have that DVR'd still, go back and rewatch those episodes. And his family was very, very nice, and he's an easy kid to root for. So look for Izzy Abanikanda to have a more pronounced role with the Jets this upcoming season. More running back news coming at you. The Browns and Nick Chubb have agreed to rework his contract. So Chubb's going to stay in Cleveland along with Jerome Ford. He had a devastating multi-ligament injury in 2024, in 2023. But the Browns have chosen to bring him back. They lowered his base salary. They're giving him a chance through incentives to earn some of that money back. And as we know, Nick Chubb has been, when he's on the field, a top 5 running back in the NFL. So the Cleveland Browns, coming off a playoff season, looking to get Deshaun Watson in the building for a healthy 17 weeks and make another playoff run. Nick Chubb can definitely be a part of that as long as he gets rehabbed up and gets back on the field. We weren't sure whether he would return to the NFL after he suffered his second significant injury. He's not a regular human being, we can tell. It takes quite a bit to recover from a knee injury, let alone to do it and play at the NFL level. But the Browns want him to come back and be productive. And hey, I'm rooting for Nick Chubb. Once again, go ahead and like the channel, subscribe, like this video, subscribe to the channel. Give me some feedback in the comment section. This is my first solo gig, so I'd like to grow, and you guys can let me know what I need to be looking at to do that. We're going to take a second and hear from our fearless leader, Mr. Matt Kelly, and he's going to tell you about a pretty incredible part of Player Profiler that I recommend everybody go out and get.
Now, I know many of you are looking for a secret weapon for your Dynasty League, and I have it. It's called the Dynasty Dominator app. You go to the App Store, go to Google Play. It's right there. It's $5 to download, and then every year it's $5 to load the next incoming class of rookies. You can add Superflex, add tight end premium. It's incredible because it allows you to look up players. It allows you to vote on whether a player is a buy, hold, or sell, and then see the market sentiment on that player. And you can compare their lifetime value rating from Player Profiler to their Dynasty ADP at the FFPC, all in the price lookup tool. And beyond that, we have a trade analyzer, so you'll never lose another Dynasty trade again. And in our settings, you can set this is a win now team, this is a rebuilding team, and then we let you compare players. Look at their metrics side by side, prospect metrics, NFL metrics. It's all there. It's $5 in the App Store. There's some add-ons for Superflex and to buy the upcoming rookie class. Every year, you're going to spend $5 on this thing, and it's going to be well worth it.
All right. You heard from Matt Kelly. He is the leader of Player Profiler. All of this was his vision, and he's definitely innovating in the fantasy industry, and he's a pleasure to work for. I can tell you that much. A lot of big things are on the horizon for Player Profiler, so make sure that you are subscribed to Player Profiler, staying tuned to all of our YouTube content. There's some fantastic stuff. A lot of really good analysts. We're on the verge of releasing our rookie guide for 2024, along with some of the guys from the Undroppables, some pretty sharp analysts. So look out for that. A lot of big things. Player Profiler is going to grow in a big way over the next over the summer, basically this spring and summer into the fall. 2024 is going to be a big year for all of us, including at the news desk, which was a venture that we basically started within the last eight or 9 months, leading into the 2023 season. And we've grown in scope. We've got all kinds of draft stuff coming up at the end of April when the NFL draft happens. And you're not going to want to miss any of it because there are so many good people over at Player Profiler and especially at the news desk. So we are just growing and growing. So back to the news to finish up. Patrick Taylor Jr., former running back of the Green Bay Packers, he is going to be taking his talents to San Francisco. San Francisco is always a really crowded running back room. Elijah Mitchell, Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Juszczyk, Tyrion Davis-Price. They always have quite a big stable of running backs. And Patrick Taylor, after the Josh Jacobs signing, and Aaron Jones leaving, and the retention of A.J. Dillon all in Green Bay, Patrick Taylor has signed with the San Francisco 49ers. So he's going to be going over there. And Laviska Shenault Jr., I know everybody was on pins and needles wondering what was going to happen with him. He is signing with the Seahawks. So he's going to challenge Jackson Smith and Jigba and Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf in that wide receiver room. Hopefully good things can happen for Laviska Shenault. And then we can talk about Stephon Diggs. I know you've all heard about it already, unless you were on vacation in Europe and not plugged into what was going on back here across the pond. But Stephon Diggs was traded from the Bills to the Houston Texans to add another wide receiver to CJ Stroud's already stacked lineup, which includes Nico Collins and Tank Dell and now Stephon Diggs. So second-year quarterback CJ Stroud, incredible rookie season. He's going to have an even better year in 2024 because of the addition of Diggs, who's a longtime Pro Bowl wide receiver. Kansas City Chiefs news: Clyde Edwards-Helaire is back, and he signed to a one-year deal to back up Isaiah Pacheco. And amazingly, Carson Wentz remaining relevant in the NFL. He signed a deal to go to Kansas City. He signed with the Rams last year, backed up Matt Stafford, and now he's going to be backing up Patrick Mahomes. So I'm sure Chiefs fans are really, really especially hoping more than normal that Patrick Mahomes doesn't come into any strife or get injured or anything like that, because, you know, the specter of Carson Wentz will be looming behind him. All right. Thank you guys for watching. You know, when you do something and you're just like, that felt terrible. Again, leave me some comments, give me some feedback. I will be back with you next week at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern time, to give you updates on the weekly news, the daily news, whatever happens. And again, we're getting close to draft season, so the news items that I'm going to be able to report are going to be ramping up pretty fast. So thank you all for watching, and I'm going to go ahead and have my producer get me out of here, I think. How about this one?